Hello, everybody. David here. Welcome. Here we share true stories from real people. Today, starting out with the first story. My jealous brother slept with my fiancée right after we got engaged, and now the whole family is done with him. I'm a 23-year-old man who just got engaged and then called off the engagement within 2 weeks. My fiancée, Riley, also 23, slept with my brother Adam, 27, the night after our engagement. My disgusting brother tried to rub it in my face to make me feel worse. Riley and I had been together for almost 3 years, but she threw it all away for my brother the night of our engagement. She told me she really wanted to marry me, but broke that promise the next day by sleeping with Adam. I was devastated and ended everything over text, blocking her afterward. I even changed the locks on our home so she couldn't come back. Riley and I had lived together for a year, and everything was going well, so I thought it was the right time to propose. I never imagined she would betray me with Adam of all people, knowing how fiercely competitive and unfriendly we were with each other. My father died in an accident when I was very young, so I have almost no memories of him. At least Adam got to spend some time with him, but I don't remember him at all. Adam never liked me, and growing up, he was my biggest enemy. He was always the bully, and my mom, being a single mother, didn't have much time to deal with our sibling rivalry, since she had more important things on her mind, like paying bills and putting food on the table every day. Our uncle, my dad's brother, visited often and tried to help as much as he could. My mom stayed in touch with my dad's family even after his death because they'd already lost their son. They didn't need to lose their grandson too. My uncle was practically the only father figure I had, and he's still the one person I trust. As for Adam, my mom wasn't biased, but if she had to pick a favorite, it would clearly be Adam. That made our sibling rivalry even worse, because I wanted to be the favorite too. Unfortunately, as a kid, I was always the loser. I wasn't good at sports and was at best average in school. I was pretty skinny and didn't have any standout talents, so I was always insecure about everything, which made it hard to talk to people, make friends, and be popular. I was really introverted and mostly kept to myself. Adam was the complete opposite. He played sports and was really good at them. He wasn't bad at school either and had a very different physique from mine, big and strong thanks to his sports activities. Needless to say, being his younger brother made me feel even more embarrassed because, even though no one said it outright, I knew everyone always compared me to him and thought I was a loser in comparison. Over time, I learned to live in his shadow and just let him walk all over me. My self-esteem really took a hit during my childhood, and I never fully recovered from that. Even by the end of high school, I barely had any friends, and no one wanted to talk to me because I seemed weird. Things only changed for me and started getting better when I graduated and went to college. I was the new guy there, and no one knew me as Adam's brother, so I really grew as a person. Now, I no longer had to face Adam's constant bullying, and I was finally able to be myself. I know this sounds cheesy, but I'm so grateful I was able to go to college in a state where no one knew me, because I don't think I would be the person I am today without that experience. And I have my uncle to thank for that because he's the one who paid for my college. My mom told me she couldn't afford to send me to a college that far away and wanted me to pick somewhere closer to home if possible, but I'd made up my mind, and my uncle offered to cover the costs and take care of it. I made a lot of friends there and graduated at the top of my class. My mom and uncle attended my graduation, but Adam didn't, even though I went to his. After I moved away, Adam and I lost touch for obvious reasons. He hated me for no reason, and I hated him because he made my childhood and teenage years a complete nightmare. I was glad to be rid of him, and we only saw each other during holidays or when we went home for birthdays. Years went by, and that's the arrangement we stuck to. We didn't consider each other family outside of the house, but I did console him and texted him when he lost all his money a few years ago. He quit his job and tried to start his own business, but it failed miserably, and our uncle and mom had to bail him out when he was deep in debt. He couldn't go back to his old job, so he had to move back in with our mom for a few months until he got back on his feet. Even when he finally found a job, it wasn't as good as his old one, but he took it because he wanted to move out of our mom's house in his late 20s and felt ashamed to still be living with her. This is what my uncle told me, and I was pretty disappointed that his life had completely fallen apart. I felt sorry for him, so I sent a consoling text, but I think he misunderstood and thought I was bragging or mocking him, so he blocked me and ignored me during the next few holidays. We weren't friendly when we saw each other, but we tried to keep things civil and at least say hello, no matter how cold it was. But after that text, there was no communication between us. I wish I could say Adam's life got better, but it didn't. The failure of his business really affected him, and every time I saw him after that, he seemed worse than before. My uncle told me he changed jobs 7 or 8 times after that, but he didn't seem happy with any of them. His clothes got shabbier, and you could see his mental state reflected in how he acted at family gatherings. He was always drinking or silently staring into space. Honestly, I really pitied him seeing him in that state. As a kid, I always hated him, but now it's hard to hate someone who's gone through so much. My uncle always tried to involve him in our conversations, but he never seemed interested and always left early. I had also started bringing Riley to these gatherings after we'd been together for a year. She knew about Adam and even seemed worried about him, but there wasn't much we could do. Fast forward to our engagement 2 weeks ago. Riley and I went to my uncle's house for his birthday dinner. First, I asked and made sure he was okay with me proposing during his birthday party, and he agreed, so I went ahead. The whole family would be there anyway, and my uncle has a nice house with a lovely garden, so it was a perfect spot. I even invited her parents, but they wouldn't arrive until after the proposal, so she couldn't suspect what was coming. After my uncle cut the cake and everything, I took her outside and popped the question. She said yes, and then we went back inside to tell everyone and celebrate. I noticed Adam left a few minutes after I announced it, but I didn't think much of it because I was pretty busy with everyone that night. And besides, he usually left family gatherings early, so it wasn't a surprise. Riley and I had a great night and then went back home. She didn't mention anything about Adam or his weird behavior after we got home, which she usually did whenever we went to any of my family's events. We were both drunk and tired, so as soon as my head hit the pillow, I fell asleep, but I had to wake up around 2 a.m. because I needed to use the bathroom. When I woke up, I noticed Riley was still on the phone, and when I asked who she was talking to, she said she was just telling a few friends about the engagement. That seemed innocent enough, so I didn't suspect anything and went back to sleep right after. But 2 days later, while I was at work, I got a bunch of texts from Adam. I was really surprised because the last time we talked, he blocked me. They were just screenshots of his conversation with Riley, and in those chats, they planned to meet up and have sex. And they did. It started with Adam texting her congratulations on the engagement, and she asked why he wasn't there the whole night. So he told her he was feeling down about a lot of things and wanted to leave as soon as he could because he didn't want to intrude on my happiness. He talked about how we were never friends and how he felt it was inappropriate for him to be there for such an occasion for me, so he left. He was trying to come off like a sad puppy that no one wanted, but the truth was I really wouldn't have cared if he'd stayed all night. He just wanted Riley to feel sorry for him, so he could manipulate her more easily. And that's exactly what happened. She started comforting him and saying she was there for him. She also said I was a good guy and wasn't trying to hurt him, so she apologized on our behalf if he felt bad about what happened. And Adam responded by saying he could never find someone like Riley, so he didn't even see the point in trying. That bastard started flirting with her, and she responded in kind, and suddenly they were planning to meet up. And I know for sure that she went to his place the night after our engagement because she told me she would be spending the night at her friend's house to tell her all about the engagement. On top of that, Adam sent me pictures of Riley's clothes on his bed, and that's all I needed to see. It was disgusting and sick, and it really broke me. But I took the day off from work and went home right after I got Adam's texts. I sobbed uncontrollably, but even through my tears, I decided to change the locks and pack everything I could find that belonged to Riley. Everything I found and knew was hers I put in a cardboard box, and when I was done I left it outside the door. By the time I finished doing all that, it was almost time for Riley to come home. I hadn't seen her since the night before because she told me she'd be working directly from her friend's place. But of course now I know she was working from Adam's place. I wanted to break up with her in person, but after a while, I decided it wasn't worth it because she had literally cheated on me the day after I proposed to her and promised to spend the rest of her life with me. I was so angry that I decided to end it over text. I sent her a message saying I knew she'd slept with Adam, and I didn't want to be with her anymore. I told her she disgusted me, and that all her stuff was outside, so she could pick up the box and leave because I didn't want to see her. If she forgot something in the house, she could come back for it later. I told her we were done, then sent the text and blocked her. A few minutes after sending that text, Riley came knocking on my door, begging me to let her in. She was very distressed, and I could hear it in her voice. She begged me to give her a chance to explain, and she kept telling me she knew she'd made a huge mistake, but she just wanted me to hear her out. It went on for about half an hour, and it was hard for me to keep calm and ignore it. But after she tried everything from crying to guilt-tripping and pleading, she finally left. To be sure, I didn't open the door for about an hour after the begging stopped to make sure she wasn't still waiting outside. When I was sure she was gone, I ordered takeout, had dinner, and tried to sleep, but I was so heartbroken that I couldn't close my eyes. I wanted to do something big to get back at Adam and really teach him a lesson, but I couldn't think of anything. I racked my brain for a while, and when I couldn't come up with anything, I decided to take the easy way out and just forward those screenshots to everyone in the family and say, "This is what my dear brother Adam did to me." Then I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Honestly, I didn't have a plan, nor did I set any conditions for my relatives, so what they did was voluntary, and I had absolutely nothing to do with it. Everyone in the family sympathized and told me they'd blocked him and would cut ties with him completely. Everyone was shocked after learning what Adam had done to me and reached out to comfort me, except my mom. She didn't talk to me for the first few days after I sent that text to everyone, but a few days later she visited me looking very sad. I knew she wasn't going to sit and console me like the others. I was right because she came over to talk about my actions. She said she could understand that I was upset with Adam for whatever he'd done, and that was fair, but I should have refrained from making the matter public. Her reasoning was that Adam had suffered so much already because he was a grown man living with the memory of a failed business and had no prospects in his love life. He'd had a few failed relationships but nothing long-term, and that was especially sad because when he was younger, he was a really promising guy, so no one could have imagined he'd turn out to be such a failure and so miserable. On the other hand, no one could have expected me to succeed as I did, both in my career and my relationships. My mom believed Adam did this out of jealousy, which I already knew. For context, I work at an architecture firm and have a well-paying job. I worked really hard to get where I am, and if Adam had done more research on his business before diving headfirst into it, he wouldn't have failed, and he wouldn't be making less than half of what I do. But back to the main issue. When my mom said all this, it seemed like she was trying to justify what he did. So I interrupted her and asked if she was seriously trying to justify Adam sleeping with my fiancée the night after our engagement just because his life was sad and pathetic. She took a minute and then said that wasn't right, but I needed to understand where he was coming from and show a little sympathy and forgiveness. She went on to say that cutting Adam off from the family had affected him a lot, and he was suffering deeply. Family gatherings were all he had because he felt ashamed to be around his friends who were all so much more successful than he was. So he didn't keep in touch with them, and family was all he had. I'm glad for him, and I really don't care that he's suffering because he caused my relationship with Riley to end, so he deserves it, and I have no sympathy to spare for him. But my mom believed I should be the bigger person and talk to everyone to somehow convince them to give him another chance. Not only that, but she wanted me to reach out to him and clear the air. I told her I wasn't going to do any of that, and that she was crazy for expecting me to reach out to someone who deliberately ruined my relationship. I was really angry with her. I told her I knew she had favorites, even though it wasn't really obvious, but she didn't need to rub it in my face and make me feel so bad about it. I said if I had done the same thing to Adam, she wouldn't be trying to justify it and act like it wasn't a big deal. She'd probably be livid about it, I'm sure of that. She tried to deny it, and we started arguing. It turned into a big fight, and she was very upset and offended. She left the house after saying she wouldn't talk to me until I reached out to Adam and tried to make things right with him. It's been a few days, and my relatives are still checking on me. Mostly my uncle, who's been texting me every day. Riley has also been sending me messages from different numbers, hoping to get a call back or at least talk to me, but I haven't responded. I haven't blocked her on those numbers yet, but I know I eventually have to and will. The only person I haven't heard from since our big fight is my mom, and I really feel bad about that. I mentioned earlier that I knew my brother was her favorite because they always seemed to have this unexplainable bond, even when I was a kid. But my mom never showed favoritism, at least not until now. I just feel really confused about what she said. I'm happy with my life now, and it's not like I'm depressed or anything, but I really do want my mom in my life. But I don't agree with how she's handling the whole situation between Adam and Riley. What do you think? Was I wrong to send the evidence to the family about my brother and fiancé cheating on me? Update 1, the people have spoken, and the people have been heard. Thank you all so much for your comments on the original post, and for being patient enough to read it. I'm so glad so many of you gave me helpful advice on what to do next and reassured me that I wasn't wrong, because what my mom said really made me feel like I overstepped by doing what I did. But clearly that wasn't the case, and I don't need to reach out to anyone. I also talked to my uncle about what my mom said. I hadn't told anyone before because it was private, and I didn't want to discuss this with others, but my uncle is family, and I felt significantly better after talking to him. He said he also noticed that my mom always favored Adam over me. It wasn't always obvious, but it was definitely there, and anyone with half a brain could tell she had a favorite, and it wasn't me. He said he really felt bad for what happened to me because he knew how much I loved Riley, but she clearly didn't think things through before sleeping with Adam, despite knowing about our relationship. That's worrying, but there isn't much I can do about it, and honestly, that's fine because I like to think I dodged a bullet there. I'm not completely over her yet, but I know I'll get there. However, that's not really what's on my mind. My relationship with my mom is something I don't want to lose, but if she's acting like this and falling victim to Adam, I don't know how we can get along or reconcile. My uncle thinks I should let it go. He said he knows my mom and also knows that she won't back down if she thinks she's right. He told me not to hope that she'd change her mind and talk to me because that's very unlikely since she's been visiting Adam almost every day since our family cut him off. It's heartbreaking that she's still fully invested in him, even though I'm the one who actually lost a relationship because of him, and a pretty significant one at that. But I also understand that I can't change the situation, and it is what it is. That's something my uncle taught me, to accept things and let them go, and I guess that's what I have to do. I tried arguing with my mom and making her see the truth, but she doesn't care about the truth and only cares about making sure Adam gets all the support he needs. Well, that's fine by me, I guess. Update 2, it's been almost 2 weeks since I broke up with Riley, and she texted me almost every other day for about a week after we broke up, but then she stopped, probably after realizing that begging me to get back together with her wasn't going to work. And I didn't want to talk to her or hear her side of the story. I don't even know why she thought explaining her side would make things better because, as far as I'm concerned, nothing justifies cheating, and that's just how it is. But yesterday, she reached out to me and said she wanted to come by and pick up some things she left at my place. That's when I finally responded because now we're talking business instead of her begging me to talk to her and me ignoring all those texts. I told her she could come by today because I was off work anyway, and it was better to get it over with. So she came over around noon, and I could tell she was really upset. She looked worse than usual and didn't make eye contact with me once during her time there. I didn't say anything to her either after opening the door and letting her in. The house was silent as she packed up her things, and I sat on the couch in the living room, avoiding looking at her. After she finished packing, she said she was leaving. And even though I had a lot to say to her, I just said goodbye and went back to my phone. She didn't deserve anything more, and after that, she was gone for good. It felt strange, but in a good way, because this meant I'd never have to talk to her or receive her texts again, or have anything in the house that reminded me of her. I blocked her a few minutes after she left and decided to celebrate by watching our favorite movie by myself. I still haven't heard from my mom, but with time it's become easier to accept that. At least now I know for sure that she'll never side with me here, simply because I'm not Adam. So, no matter what I do for her, it'll never be enough, and honestly, I'm tired of trying. My uncle told me he also had an argument with her recently when he tried to defend me, and she didn't like that, so things between them aren't great either. I can't believe she's willing to sacrifice her relationship with both of us just to continue supporting Adam, knowing he's a piece of shit. It just doesn't make sense to me, but I guess if that's what she wants, then whatever. Update 3, it's been a month since I last posted here, and I can't believe that just a month ago, I was still complaining about my mom not loving me. But now I'm better, and I don't care what my mom thinks anymore. She's as delusional and selfish as my brother, and that's probably why they get along so well, because they're both horrible people. And I'm pretty unlucky to be related to both of them. But now, I have no ties to either of them, and I'm so grateful for that because they don't deserve someone like me, and neither does Riley. I was always too good for them, and if they can't see that, then that's their loss. I have no reason to feel bad about anything, and that's why I don't feel bad that no one in the family talks to them or invites them to any events. They simply have no more relationships with any of us, and I couldn't be happier about that. Riley and I haven't spoken since she came to pick up her things the last time because I blocked her after that, just like most of our mutual friends did after finding out the real reason our engagement was called off. But my mom tried to contact me a few days ago, and even now she doesn't think she needs to apologize to me, which is crazy to think about. Even in our most recent conversation, she kept insisting on how much Adam was suffering, and how he was diagnosed with clinical depression. I told her I could give her the number of a therapist, but nothing more, and I definitely wouldn't talk to our relatives now to make them sympathize with him. And then she started trying to manipulate me, getting emotional and sentimental. She really amped it up by saying she'd already lost her husband, and she didn't want to lose the two most important men in her life now, just because of some stupid fight over a girl. It's funny how she considers the fight stupid and trivial, because, as I recall, the fight wasn't over a girl. It was about my fiancé, and it was anything but stupid or trivial, because Adam deliberately cheated with Riley just because he wanted to make me feel bad. So I think I have the right to be mad at him and never want to talk to him again. As for the rest of our family, I didn't pressure them to do anything. They cut off Adam and my mom because of their own behavior, and I had absolutely nothing to do with that. So if they want to blame someone, they should blame themselves. That's what I told my mom before blocking her. Now I can finally move on with my life and let them go to hell. I care very little or not at all